It's your boy OfficiallyDevin, bringing you part 5 of the Nanman Abridged campaign. In the previous part we pretty much killed Meng Huo and peaced out of the war, then our allies went and finished the war for us, which means we've now united most of the tribes, just need to finish off the last few. We're now at war with Wu Tugu and the Zhangyang tribes in the northwest. We defeated Wu Tugu's main force in a nice defensive battle, and now we're attacking one of his towns, but they've sallied out against us. We had some nice terrain in this battle. I could sit on a slope and let the enemy run up at me, which, as mentioned before, probably does something to make your side win a bit more. Not really sure about that. We had a duel between Sai and an enemy officer that, as usual, is going to last long beyond the end of the battle, which kind of makes the dueling pointless because all you can get from it is a buff to your morale. And since the battle will be over when you get it, it just won't help. You might as well just do a regular attack order. Anyway, so that's going on. We've got some flank plays going on as well, with swords going around the right, some of our axe troops going around the left, although they're currently delayed by enemy spears, and in the middle, Shamoke is just sort of standing there on his elephant, theoretically fighting. Looks like the elephant, though, only attacks enemies in certain situations. I guess animations need to trigger and stuff. Here comes our other elephant, though, smashing through that blob to go attack a different one. And now Shamoke is going to use the trumpet ability, and that's just going to sort things out here. Units will rout at really high strength because that morale debuff is so large. We're also winning on the right flank in general thanks to adding some swords into a rear attack, although they do have a couple of good units. They've got these Spears of the South who are holding on, they don't rout in this situation, and some Nanjong champions. A better version of our Nanman warriors, basically an anti-shield infantry unit, meaning they'll do well against my swords, although they'll have to fight uphill, and they'll soon be rear attacked. Shamoke's rear attacking this big blob, that's probably going to get rid of them. Looks like they'll be routing around this fist fight going on, which, as I mentioned, will be going on for the rest of the fight. The fight's already kind of over. With so much stuff routing away, we are free to pursue. Obviously, a lot of it's just going to come back because they routed at really high strength, but the other things left behind can be killed in the meantime, giving us a decisive edge in the battle. There's an example over here of routing units coming back in an annoying fashion. I had slingers chasing in melee, trying to keep putting bits of damage on the enemy because I don't think they can come back from routing like if you've just taken away a bit of their health. Or maybe they can, I'm sure it's different in every game. Basically, our slingers ended up fighting enemy axemen in melee, not very good. But it doesn't matter, at this stage we're overwhelming everything, we take out the last pockets of resistance, and then it all comes down to our fist fight duel on the empty battlefield. Eventually Sai here karate chops whoever that was his guts out, and that's going to be the end of that. We're going to take a pretty good prisoner here as a recruit to keep boosting our recruit upgrade thing to get replenishment, and that's that. One auto-resolve in the next turn will finish that settlement off, but we're going to go right into another battle now because the Zhangyang tribes attacked my river defense position that I mentioned in the last part. I'd set this up thinking this will give us a nice easy win. It says it's going to be a valiant defeat on the auto-resolve thing, and it turns out this river defense isn't really all that much because it's all just passable river. I think I've seen this happen before in this game. I don't know if it does have a choke point style river defense. Essentially the enemy just get like a 30% speed penalty as they're moving towards you, so it makes ranged attacks a bit more effective. In practice it doesn't do anything, and this is just a field battle. So like in the previous battle, I just stand around and let the enemy run at me, and over they come with their fluorescent outfits. They are ready to party, these Zhangyang guys. My big play though is to go around the enemy's right flank with our tiger handlers, and then release the tigers to see what happens. The enemy's ranged troops are all blobbed up here together, so this is ideal. The tigers will just start mauling them. Not only will it stop the ranged troops from shooting, but it might even be killing them. It looks like it's very powerful. We're throwing them all over the place, but I think they just get back up again in a lot of cases. If we throw them enough times, they'll probably die, and that's going to help out a lot. No ranged power for the enemy in this battle. We're also winning on our left flank because I used some blow dart troops to debuff the enemy infantry and easily beat them. Although in the middle we've got trouble because a massive blob has broken through our line. I've got some of our better troops holding on, but they're just barely alive. And I do have, though, the elephants there. I think I eventually order the elephants to charge forwards and sort that enemy blob out. My officers are hunting down enemy officers by not dueling them and just trying to triple or double team them. to kill them normally. Our tigers chase everything that's routing and skirmishing away and keep attacking them, so that stops them from coming back. Absolutely ideal. I think the tigers are going to be perfect for counteracting the infinite rout tendency of all of these battles. And as you can see, that blob that was giving me trouble is gone. It died while I wasn't looking at it, unfortunately, but I think it was just those elephants there. Charged forward, flattened them, and they all routed, and that was the end of that. Meanwhile, we're still hunting down enemy officers since they haven't routed. But let's just skip now to after the battle. Basically, we took them down big time, and the tigers and elephants got loads of kills because they're faster than the enemy's infantry. They could chase them to the edge of the map and pick up a whole bunch of kills, making it pretty good. That army's now nearly dead. Again, one auto-resolve away from concluding that. But first, there was an interesting mission that came up here. We need to send a character over to Changsha in order to get a relationship boost with Lady Wu. The state I called Wu last time. It's not actually Wu, it's just controlled by Lady Wu. It's the faction over there, the big Chinese faction that we probably don't want to be at war with. So I was very interested in a mission to increase our relations, especially because it appears to be part of a mission chain. So I'm going to make a random character and send them over to try and do that. Meanwhile, we've got some auto-resolves to do. We get a surprisingly bad auto-resolve finishing off the survivors of that army. And after that, our force here will move on to go and attack their settlement. And at the settlement we were defending against a sally from earlier, to say it in the most confusing possible way. We go and auto-resolve it to take that settlement. Now Wutagu has another settlement to the north. I thought that might be all he has, so I figured maybe we can just get out of this war with a vassalization deal, since that would also give me the fealties I need to progress towards the tribal unification thing. He does want peace, and he wants it a lot, as we can see, so that's perfect, and he does want it enough to become my vassal. So that should be the end of that, but now we're going to see an interesting diplomatic blunder. I thought let's try and throw in a trade deal as well. He wasn't interested in also trading. So after looking at it for a second, I thought, well, I'll take the trade deal off the table and just go with the vassalization. But the trade deal goes into the middle. I thought it went on to the right, and I wasn't looking at the icons as usual. So in that quick movement there over the last couple of seconds, what I actually did was cancel the vassalization and swap it for a trade deal and military access for some reason. I didn't realise, of course, and here you can see me looking at him thinking, why isn't he my vassal now? And then checking and realising the mistake. So we've messed up here very badly, not quite sure how it came to this point. I guess the actual answer is, it's me not reading the tooltips or looking. I don't know, I just figured when you added something to the deal it appeared on the right always, but they're in a set order, the different kinds of deal factors, so sometimes they appear in the middle and on the left and stuff. Anyway, we're going to have to fight Wutagu again one day. That's the upshot of all this. For now, though, it's just the Zhengyang tribes. Moved over to besiege their town, could probably take them right now, but I thought we might as well just wait for the second army to come over, because now this is the only thing we have to do, so the second army might as well be used for it as well. However, they did sally against us. You can see here, in the auto-resolve prediction, it says it's going to be a valiant defeat. And I did look this up on some forums. Apparently there is actually a massive glitch that was added to the game, presumably by this DLC, where you can never lose an attacking auto-resolve. People were demonstrating that if you send one guy to attack a town, you'll always get a Pyrrhic victory. For some reason, it just works like that. There's something that prevents the defending side from ever winning an auto-resolve. So that's a massive exploit apparently, but we're not going to try it in this campaign. We've seen the AI use it against us in an earlier part, but just thought I'd let you know that's out there, and that's why the auto-resolves, probably anyway, seem to be quite bad for us in this campaign. It's probably because I'm taking defensive auto-resolves, and there's some hidden penalty you get for doing that. Anyway, here's the battle. It's actually going to be an easy field battle. Again, we're just going to stand around and go for the same flank play as in the previous battle, that being tigers to the right and blow darts to the left. The tigers annoyingly didn't get released in amongst the enemy's range stuff. It attacked a routing unit that moved too close when I clicked it. It just attacks the closest thing, I believe. And once it started attacking something, it kind of chases it wherever it goes. It doesn't spread out to look for other targets afterwards. So you kind of want to get it into a nice juicy blob at the beginning so it will stay there for the rest of the fight. Anyway, you can see the fight's already going well. For some reason, a large portion of the enemy force stayed behind out of the fight. I think they had some issues with the reinforcements. So there's less stuff here than usual, and that stuff is getting easily routed, especially when the elephants just break out and start stampeding through everything. So with the combined rampage of elephants and tigers mauling absolutely everything in sight, including our own troops, that's probably going to allow us to win this battle. We still need to press on and fight the fresh troops arriving, but we can just do that with the elephants, and the enemy don't last too long in those fights, suffice to say. This means the fight again comes down to a fisticuffs battle at the original battle site. In this case, our guy shows off some real fancy moves, absolutely annihilating whoever that was, throwing some nice invisible stuff into their face, giving them a nosebleed with his beauty perhaps. And I even left an audience for the fight this time, since in the past it feels a bit lonely when everyone else just leaves and you're left to have a duel where no one even sees if you win. Anyway, we spend the rest of my life chasing the enemy off the field, get to this point, and we've probably effectively captured the settlement after this. We get a nice officer recruit. I'm not recruiting him onto Shamoke's army, or with Shamoke's army there, so that's not counting towards the thing I was trying to get up. We need recruits anyway. I don't have that many officers, so it's nice to have some more. You can always just kick them out if you don't want them later. This is after the next auto-resolve, when we have the option to confederate or vassalize the Zhengyang tribes. Not quite sure what the difference is going to be between doing an occupy and a confederation, because confederation means you get their territory, occupy also means you get their territory, but maybe with confederation you get all of their officers and occupy you don't. Maybe that's the difference. I think I effectively captured all their officers in that campaign anyway, so maybe there really is no difference, but I went for occupy. I almost went a turn without being at war with someone, and then Mulu declares war on us. This is the guy to our southeast. He's on the other side of our ally. He used to be far away and pretty much out of sight, but recently he's been killing my ally. I just wasn't paying any attention, or I didn't care, I should say, that my ally was being conquered, because I was like, well, just die, and I'll fight Mulu once he's done killing you. But we are into the war early now. We do just about border him, so I guess that's why he's now declared war on us. It's just a bit of an awkward border. I wasn't too interested in doing anything with that right now, because I'd effectively have to make a new army down there and gradually bring these guys over. I thought I want to do something close to home, that being to attack Zhurong, because the peace treaty I got with her in the past has probably expired by now. That was my thinking anyway. However, at the end of this next turn, Yang Feng calls me into war with Zhurong, and it turns out my peace treaty actually hasn't expired. We can just do it anyway and become untrustworthy. Makes it hard to get deals, but the untrustworthiness does also go away over time. And I thought, well, we might as well join the war just to make Yang Feng like us a bit, since I was planning to join it pretty much next turn anyway. So now I just have one more turn of preparation, which I'm going to continue doing, building up on the Zhurong border in front of her main force, and then we'll see what happens. Going back to that mission I was trying to do, I think it might be glitched, I'm not quite sure. I've sent any character to Changsha, as you can see here, but nothing's happening. It's still telling me to send a character. The mission hasn't updated or anything. So not quite sure what's going on, but I started thinking, wait a minute, this mission is called a meeting between leaders. So when it says move any character, I thought it might actually be a mistake. Maybe you have to move your leader there, so we need to get Shamoke into this county instead. I decided to disband those troops, which I should have done earlier, and then just leave the guy standing here, on the off chance that the check for whether he's there just occurs at random times or something, and maybe it will happen eventually. Meanwhile, Zhurong gets double ambushed. She goes to attack us, and this is a case where doing a manual battle would be a bad idea, because while we're going to take quite high casualties with an auto-resolve here, it also won't allow us to use our second fight if we do it manually, because the ambush will effectively be over before the second army joins the battle, meaning it's possibly actually better to just take the moderate casualties across both armies with the auto-resolve than to have the first army be heavily damaged and the second army just not participate at all. In the end, we do the auto-resolve. Luckily, even though she's kind of attacking us, an ambush counts as the ambusher being the attacker, so no auto-resolve glitches here. We're able to get the result we need. We capture an officer, pretty much take Zhurong's army down, we take a whole bunch of casualties, but the fight did happen during the end turn sequence in our territory, meaning we'll immediately replenish some of those losses. We go on to double team the settlement she was sitting in just now, and that's that. Now we're going to replenish again, and she isn't. Overall, the situation's going to be fine, and I think the auto-resolve was okay in the end. She's now got a territory next to us we can go for, and there's another one in an awkward position. Maybe our allies can get it. Looks like Mulu is encroaching though with those two visible territories that are adjoining some of our things. And because of that I thought let's start a new army in that general area ready to deal with any potential invasion. Here's me selling stuff to Liu Biao to get some money. I needed the money to be able to hire Meng Huo as the leader of a new army, which I immediately regretted because I hired him thinking, yeah, he's a cool legendary lord, let's have him lead an army. But then I, pretty much right away, found out his satisfaction level is 0, and officers with 0 satisfaction will just betray you if you tell them to do anything. So, one way we can get around this is to try and promote him. He's really angry at us because he has a low rank and has the ambitious trait, but to give people ranks, there have to be like spaces in your council. You can't just give them stuff, you have to fire someone else, and I didn't want to fire someone else basically, so this ends up going nowhere. I just got rid of Meng Huo because I didn't want him to rebel and then have the troops. If he rebels while he's not a general, he just disappears effectively as if he's gone to join another faction, and that's all fine. So nothing happened except I lost a bunch of money. Another blunder. We get a generous mission here. It's the mission we had earlier to get another elephant, where you just have to win a battle, but we have to win it against that essentially dead army, on fire as it might be. So I was happy to go after that and pursue them with my second force. Looks like Yang Feng is taking Zhurong's territories in the west down, so Shamoke can come over and attack what is now her final territory. There's pretty much nothing here, so we'll move on in. After this you'll see I have a very long decision to make. I wanted to not occupy this place to see what would happen if I did the other options essentially, but I also didn't want to do it, suspecting it would be an inferior choice. The thing about vassalization is it can be better than controlling territory yourself, because your vassals get some background money and you get a portion of that, and that portion may be greater than the money you'll make off that territory, especially considering corruption, since having more territories reduces all of your income across the board. Vassalization means you're still getting some income without increasing corruption, and your vassal faction will have no corruption, so they're making a lot of money and giving a lot of it to you. Whether it actually works out like that when you look at the numbers, I don't know, because of course I did not look at the numbers, but that is why we now have a vassal over there in the corner. Here's me trying to get that mission to work again. I went over the line, leaving Changsha's county and then going back in, thinking maybe this will re-trigger something. Unfortunately not, so I ended up disbanding that guy in the end, I think. We can see now that Mulu actually does have an army in my territory upon further inspection. Looks like he force marched it up there. My secondary army, now denied of its chance to go after Zhurong for that elephant, can either go back and try to counter-attack. I won't be able to arrive in time to defend that place, or I can do this in the more Tsun Tzuian style and go and attack the enemy, which is what I was checking out just there. I noticed that the place next to where Mulu is likely to attack has a pretty sizable garrison already, so I figured what we'll do is essentially sacrifice the territory that Mulu looks like he's already going to take, and then try and hold the next one over using Meng Yue, the badass potential waifu that I wanted for Shamoke in the future. With a bunch of troops on top of the garrison and some towers, I'm hoping we can hold that area. Meanwhile, our second army will just go and attack stuff, because of course, while Mulu is attacking us, he can't also be defending his own territory. That's the Tsun Tzuian logic of it. We can inflict big damage, potentially faster than he can damage us. Meanwhile, our main force under Shamoke is just waiting around near Wu Tugu's territory, because I wanted to go and finish that off before I left that general area. So I'm just waiting, recruiting troops, letting the peace deal gradually expire. Mulu, as you can see, did take the territory he was threatening to take. However, I also take the territory I was threatening to take, and it was made easy by the fact that the officer defending it walked off during Mulu's turn. So there's essentially nothing here, and we move on in. So it's 1-1 in the scores so far. After this, we really just have to keep going. We could always go back at any time, but I'm going to commit to the strategy and just rampage into Mulu's territory deeper and deeper and see what happens. Mulu does nothing in his turn. Wu Tugu declares war on me in his turn, and that's actually pretty good because this means I now don't have to wait for our peace deal to expire because he's the one dishonoring it by breaking the deal. So with that, I'm already prepared to go. We might as well just go attack him right now. Unfortunately, I can't quite reach this first settlement, but I can get most of the way there, close enough to see that it's not very defended, so we'll just hang out and prepare to attack next time. And I've got that second army ready as well, which I'm going to move up to the border to help out. As I said with Mulu, we're just going to keep going. So I press to the east where there's another settlement for us to attack. That appears to have been where that officer we saw earlier has gone to, so it's going to be more heavily defended, but we'll just keep going for it. And Mulu literally does nothing. His main force just stays in that place he took, so that's why I'm not showing anything. He's just not doing anything. And that's perfect because every time he doesn't move and I move further into his territory, the Tsun Tzu approach becomes more effective. I think we've already got him on the ropes effectively. He can't kill us fast enough anymore. As for Wu Tugu, there was nothing at this settlement as we come to attack it in the next turn still. I couldn't move up my reinforcements close enough to reinforce, but we didn't need them. We just auto-resolve in a night battle, and that's that. We can now see there's another Wu Tugu territory to go for afterwards. Carrying on in the south then, I go and attack this next settlement. The army defending it is still here, the small army. So we're going to be facing essentially two groups of units with our 3, but they'll have towers and such, so I didn't want to make this attack. Plus, there doesn't appear to be any rush, because if Mulu really isn't going to do anything, we don't need to rampage through his territory quite so much. We can afford to just siege them out and kill them. This might even tempt him to start coming back and waste a whole bunch of turns just making that movement, and then we can just disappear off somewhere, and we'll have prevented him from attacking us any further. Good strategies. But as you can see, the enemy do sally at that siege, and you can also see how it swapped from being a close victory to a valiant defeat, even though this is an easier version of the previous battle, because of that auto-resolve issue, presumably. I think in reality, this will be another throwaway field battle, even easier than the ones we've seen so far in this part. So if there's anything to say about it, I will say it at the start of part 6, and then we'll carry on. Let's see how far this Tsun Tzu strategy can take us.